Well, when I do my concentration exercises, I'm actually occupying the left portion of my brain, with this concentration. Very concentrated. In a way, it's very boring for the left brain, and it struggles for a while, but after a while, it just accepts it. And it starts to quiet down. Even though it's doing this exercise, it starts to quiet down. And then something magical happens. We can measure it. We can get these instruments to measure the amount of electromagnetic light, right? Light that's coming off of us, right? And at a certain point, when I'm doing the concentration, it's like I light up, And what happens is that my right brain, gets in rhythm with my left brain. More correctly, my left brain kind of slows down in its rhythm, starts emitting what we call alpha waves, right? And that's in sync with my right brain. And here's the really magical thing, is my heart and my spinal column, which has the same neural structure as my brain. It's like 99.9%. It's really high. It's very close to the same neural structure. It starts emitting all in sync. So we have this wholeness happening. So we have this wholeness of being in sync. Coherence, it's called. Coherent. Very coherent, I light up, right? I light up. That's the state that I give a label to, and that's wholeness. Yeah? I'm a whole being. I'm in the state of wholeness, right? So, what do I think about this state of wholeness? Well, I feel like it's my Wi-Fi that's finally connected. I've got 1 bar and 2 bars, and boom, it's 5 bars. My Wi-Fi's connected, And now here's the part that I have to be careful about, is that you can't get there from here, If I try too hard to use my left brain to explain in concepts and words and ideas, and think I've got it, well, you don't have it. It disappears like the bird of paradise that you grasp tightly and it's gone. Or the deep sea creature that you bring up from the depths. It was so beautiful. And you bring it up from the depths, and in a way you analyze it. And it loses its beauty. It dissolves. So here's a little trick I'm doing today. There's another concept. We have this wholeness, right? Coherence, emitting light, connecting to the Wi-Fi too, But there's another concept that I will try to merge with this in a kind of paradox, because I can't quite understand it, which is always good, because then I won't limit it. And it's a hologram. Now, a hologram is it's a fancy photograph. I mean, it's three-dimensional photograph. It's a fancy photograph, and it's put on a substance. There it is, a chunk of hologram. And then, to reveal what the hologram is connected to, what it is, what it contains, you shine a very coherent light upon it, through it. And magically, it creates a three-dimensional image of of what it took a photograph of. Well, magic doesn't stop here, You take that chunk of hologram and you break it into, shatter it into pieces. And then you take this tiny, tiny piece of hologram, you sort of mount it, and you shine the coherent light on it. And it shows a three-dimensional image of what it was connected to, what it was, what it is. And often the image that's used, particularly in the early days, was of a chalice. A chalice. So depending upon the size of the chunk of hologram, how more detailed the chalice will be, how more colorful, precise, not necessarily larger, but more apparent. Pop, it'll pop, right? It'll pop out at you, in terms of visual, like a great TV, and sometimes it'll have a pop, it'll be three-dimensional. So now we have coherence, right? Connecting to the Wi-Fi. And then we have an idea that we are a hologram, a piece of the whole, of the one. And in coherence, we emit light. That's measurable. But somehow, light shining through us. It's not just light emitted. It's both a creative and a passive light. I can't quite, it both sees and it creates. So we are a hologram reflecting the whole. And we're connected to the Wi-Fi, to the whole, the vast whole, right? So both things are happening. And so what happens when we connect to the whole, to the Wi-Fi, when we're in a state of wholeness? Well, we're really big. I mean, it's like we contain everything, But not in an egotistical way, because there isn't, I don't think there's any ego left. We're just connected to this whole. We are the whole. What do we find there? Well, I like to say we find ourselves. But the feeling is things like the peace that passeth understanding, or the feeling of not being here and having things flow through us. Again, the hologram and the coherent light. And the light's not just us. The light is the whole that comes through us, Like I said, it's not linear in its understanding. So this is one person's way of trying to explain the state of wholeness.